The discovery. In the depths of space, far beyond the reaches of our solar system, a faint but persistent signal pulsed through the cosmic background noise. It was a signal unlike any that had been detected before, a rhythmic series of electromagnetic bursts that seemed to follow a complex pattern. As the signal propagated through the vast expanse of the universe, it eventually found its way to Earth, where it was picked up by the sensitive instruments of the planet's deep space observatories. Dr. Lina Vasquez, a brilliant astrophysicist with a keen eye for anomalies, was the first to notice the strange signal. She had been poring over the data collected by the observatories for months, searching for any signs of extraterrestrial intelligence or unusual cosmic phenomena. When she first spotted the signal, she almost dismissed it as an artifact or glitch in the data. But as she examined it more closely, she realized that it was something much more significant. Lina immediately brought the signal to the attention of her colleagues at the observatory. They were initially skeptical, but as they analyzed the data more thoroughly, they began to share Lina's excitement. The signal was clearly artificial in nature, and it seemed to be coming from a specific point in space, rather than being a general background noise. This suggested that it was being transmitted by some kind of intelligent civilization. As news of the discovery spread through the scientific community, speculation ran rampant about the origin and nature of the signal. Some believed that it was a message from a benevolent alien race seeking to make contact with humanity. Others feared that it might be a warning or a threat from a hostile civilization. Still others dismissed it as a hoax or a misinterpretation of natural phenomena. Lina and her team worked tirelessly to pinpoint the source of the signal and decipher its meaning. They used the most advanced telescopes and data analysis techniques available, combining observations from multiple observatories around the world. Slowly but surely, they began to piece together a picture of the signal's origin. What they discovered was both fascinating and terrifying. The signal was coming from a distant star system, tens of thousands of light years away from Earth, and it was not alone. As they focused their instruments on that region of space, they detected a vast armada of spacecraft, moving at incredible speeds towards our solar system. The implications were clear. This was not just a signal from an alien civilization. It was a sign of an impending invasion. The spacecraft were massive in size, dwarfing anything that human technology had ever produced, and they were armed with weapons of unimaginable power, capable of destroying entire planets in a single blow. As the reality of the situation sank in, Lina and her colleagues realized that they had to act fast. They had to alert the leaders of Earth's nations and prepare for the arrival of the alien fleet. They had to find a way to defend their planet and their species from the greatest threat they had ever faced. Lina took the lead in briefing the world's leaders on the situation. She presented the data they had collected and the conclusions they had drawn, painting a stark picture of the impending danger. At first, many of the leaders were skeptical or dismissive, unable to believe that such a thing could be happening. But as more evidence came to light, and as the alien fleet drew closer to Earth, they began to realize the gravity of the situation. An emergency summit was convened, bringing together the leaders of every nation on Earth. For the first time in history, humanity was faced with a common enemy that threatened their very existence. Old rivalries and conflicts were set aside as they grappled with the enormity of the challenge before them. Debate raged over how to respond to the alien threat. Some advocated for a preemptive strike, hoping to catch the aliens off guard and destroy their fleet before it could reach Earth. Others argued for a more cautious approach, seeking to establish communication with the aliens and negotiate a peaceful resolution. But as the days passed and the alien fleet drew ever closer, it became clear that time was running out. In the end, a decision was made. Earth's nations would unite their forces and resources to mount a defense against the alien invaders. They would use every weapon and technology at their disposal, from nuclear missiles to advanced spacecraft, to fight for their survival. And they would not go down without a fight. As the world prepared for war, Lina and her team continued to study the alien signal and the approaching fleet. They searched for any weakness or vulnerability that could be exploited, any way to gain an advantage over the seemingly invincible enemy. And as they worked, a sense of determination and resolve spread throughout the planet. Humanity had faced many challenges and crises throughout its history, from natural disasters to wars and pandemics. But never before had they faced a threat of this magnitude, a threat that came from the stars themselves. And yet, in the face of this unprecedented danger, they found a strength and unity that they had never known before. As the alien fleet entered the outer reaches of our solar system, humanity stood ready to face its destiny. They had no way of knowing what the future would hold, or whether they would emerge victorious or be destroyed. But one thing was certain: they would not go quietly into the night. They would fight with every ounce of courage and determination they possessed, and they would show the universe the true power and resilience of the human spirit. The battle for Earth was about to begin, and the fate of humanity hung in the balance. But even in their darkest hour, they held on to hope. Hope that they could overcome this challenge, hope that they could build a better future, and hope that they would not be the last of their kind to walk among the stars. The ultimatum. As the alien fleet entered Earth's solar system, a sense of dread and uncertainty gripped the planet. The enormous spacecraft, bristling with advanced weapons and technology, dwarfed anything that humanity had ever seen. They moved with a purpose and precision that spoke of a highly intelligent and organized civilization, one that had likely conquered countless worlds before. Earth's defenses were on high alert, with every available military asset mobilized and ready for action. Fighter jets patrolled the skies, while ground-based missile systems stood ready to launch at a moment's notice. In orbit, a hastily assembled fleet of human spacecraft took up defensive positions, their crews determined to protect their planet at any cost. But even as Earth prepared for battle, there was still hope that a peaceful resolution could be found. Many held out hope that the aliens might be open to diplomacy, that they might be willing to negotiate and find a way to coexist with humanity. Those hopes were dashed when the alien fleet broadcast a message to Earth, a message that was heard by every person on the planet. The voice that spoke was cold and imperious, with a tone that made it clear that the aliens saw themselves as the superior beings. "Attention, inhabitants of Earth," the voice said. "We are the Zortox Imperium, the rightful rulers of this galaxy. Your planet and all its resources now belong to us. You have two choices: surrender immediately and become our subjects, or face annihilation." The message sent shockwaves through Earth's population. Some fell into despair, believing that resistance was futile against such a powerful enemy. Others burned with anger and defiance, refusing to submit to alien domination. Admiral John Bly, the commander of Earth's Space Defense Force, was one of the latter. A veteran of countless battles and a brilliant tactician, he had been tasked with leading Earth's military response to the alien threat, and he was not about to surrender without a fight. "We will never submit to alien rule," Admiral Bly declared in a broadcast to the world. "We will fight to the last man, woman, and child to defend our planet and our way of life. We may be outmatched in terms of technology and firepower, but we have something that the Zortox will never have: the human spirit." Admiral Bly's words inspired a wave of resistance across the planet. People from all walks of life, from soldiers and scientists to ordinary civilians, rallied behind the cause of defending Earth. They knew that the odds were stacked against them, but they refused to give up hope. As the Zortox fleet moved closer to Earth, tensions rose to a fever pitch. The aliens continued to broadcast their demands for surrender, warning of the consequences of defiance. They demonstrated their power by destroying a few small, uninhabited moons in the outer solar system, sending a clear message of their destructive capabilities. Earth's leaders, faced with an impossible choice, debated their options. Some argued for a preemptive strike, hoping to catch the Zortox off guard and inflict as much damage as possible. Others counseled caution, believing that any attack would only provoke a devastating response from the aliens. In the end, Admiral Lee made the decision. Earth would not launch an attack, but neither would they surrender. They would stand their ground and fight to the last, hoping that their courage and determination would be enough to turn the tide of battle. As the Zortox fleet entered Earth's orbit, the first shots were fired. Earth's defense satellites launched a barrage of missiles at the alien ships, hoping to breach their shields and inflict damage. But the Zortox technology was far superior, and the missiles were easily intercepted and destroyed. The aliens responded with a devastating counterattack, launching a swarm of fighter craft and unleashing a barrage of energy weapons that lit up the night sky. Earth's defenses fought bravely, but they were outmatched and outnumbered. One by one, Earth's ships and satellites were destroyed, until only a handful remained. On the ground, panic and chaos reigned as the Zortox began their invasion. Massive landing craft descended from the sky, disgorging armies of heavily armed alien soldiers. They marched through the streets of Earth's cities, crushing any resistance they encountered. But even in the face of overwhelming odds, humanity refused to give up. They fought back with every weapon at their disposal, from guns and grenades to improvised explosives and hand-to-hand combat. They took to the streets and the countryside, waging the guerrilla war against the alien invaders. Admiral Lai led the resistance from his command ship in orbit, coordinating Earth's remaining forces and launching daring raids against the Zortox fleet. He knew that they could not win a direct confrontation, but he hoped to buy time for Earth's scientists and engineers to develop a new weapon, one that could turn the tide of the war. As the battles raged across the planet, Dr. Lena Vasquez and her team worked feverishly to unravel the secrets of the alien technology. They studied the wreckage of downed Zortox ships, reverse engineering their advanced weapons and propulsion systems, and they began to devise a plan, a desperate gambit that could be humanity's last hope. The plan was called Project Railgun, and it was unlike anything that had ever been attempted before. It called for the construction of a massive electromagnetic cannon, one that could launch projectiles at near-light speed and deliver a devastating blow to the Zortox fleet. But the challenges were immense. The power requirements for such a weapon were beyond anything that human technology had ever achieved, and the precision required to aim and fire the railgun was beyond human capabilities. As the Zortox tightened their grip on the planet, and as Earth's defenses crumbled one by one, Dr. Vasquez and her team raced against time to bring Project Railgun to fruition. They worked around the clock, pushing themselves to the brink of exhaustion, knowing that the fate of humanity rested on their shoulders. And all the while, Admiral Lai and his forces fought on, holding back the alien tide and buying precious time for the scientists. They knew that they could not hold out forever, but they were determined to make the Zortox pay for every inch of ground they took. The stage was set for a final showdown, a battle that would determine the fate of Earth and the future of the human race. And as the railgun neared completion, and as the Zortox fleet massed for a final assault, both sides knew that the end was near. But even in their darkest hour, humanity held on to hope. Hope that their courage and ingenuity would be enough to overcome the odds. Hope that they could forge a new future, free from the threat of alien domination, and hope that the human spirit, the same spirit that had carried them to the stars and beyond, would not be extinguished. The galactic reckoning was about to reach its climax, and the universe would tremble at the fury of humanity unleashed. Project Railgun. In a top-secret facility deep beneath the Earth's surface, Dr. Lena Vasquez and her team labored tirelessly on Project Railgun. The fate of humanity rested on their shoulders, and they knew that failure was not an option. The concept behind the railgun was simple, yet audacious. It would use a series of powerful electromagnets to accelerate a projectile to incredible speeds, far beyond what any conventional weapon could achieve. The projectile would be a dense metal slug, shaped to minimize air resistance and maximize impact force. But the challenges in bringing this concept to reality were immense. The power requirements for the electromagnets were staggering, requiring the development of entirely new power generation and storage technologies. The precision required to aim and fire the weapon was equally daunting, pushing the limits of human engineering and computer science. Despite these challenges, Dr. Vasquez and her team pressed on. They worked around the clock, fueled by a sense of urgency and a determination to succeed. They knew that every day they delayed was another day that the Zortoks tightened their grip on the planet. As the team worked, they faced setback after setback. The first prototype of the Railgun failed catastrophically, destroying the test chamber and setting back the project by weeks. The second prototype fared little better, suffering from a host of technical glitches and malfunctions. But Dr. Vasquez refused to give up. She pored over the data from each failed test, looking for clues and insights that could help them improve the design. She consulted with experts from around the world, seeking out new ideas and approaches. Slowly but surely, the team began to make progress. They refined the electromagnetic coils, increasing their efficiency and power output. They developed new materials for the projectile, making it harder and denser than anything that had come before. And they worked to integrate the Railgun with Earth's existing defense systems, creating a network of sensors and targeting computers that could track the Zortoks fleet and guide the weapon to its target. As the Railgun neared completion, Dr. Vasquez and her team knew that they would only have one shot at using it. The power requirements were so immense that the weapon could only be fired once before it needed to be recharged, a process that would take days or even weeks. They also knew that the Zortoks would not sit idly by while they prepared their weapon. The aliens had already begun to suspect that something was amiss, and they had stepped up their attacks on Earth's remaining defenses. Admiral Lai and his forces fought bravely to hold the line, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. Every day, more of Earth's ships and satellites fell to the Zortoks' onslaught, and the situation grew more desperate. Finally, after months of tireless work and countless setbacks, the Railgun was ready. Dr. Vasquez and her team had done the impossible, creating a weapon that could strike a blow against the Zortoks and give humanity a fighting chance. But even as they prepared to fire the weapon, they knew that the odds were still stacked against them. The Zortoks' fleet was vast and powerful, and a single shot from the Railgun would only be a pinprick against their might. Nevertheless, they had to try. The alternative was too horrific to contemplate, a future in which humanity was enslaved or exterminated by the alien invaders. As the final preparations were made, Dr. Vasquez and Admiral Lai met to discuss their strategy. They knew that they would only have one chance to get it right, and that everything depended on the success of their plan. "We need to lure the Zortoks' fleet into a trap," Admiral Lai said. "We need to make them think that we're vulnerable, that we're ready to surrender. And then, when they least expect it, we strike." Dr. Vasquez nodded. "The Railgun will be our ace in the hole," she said. "But we need to make sure that we hit them where it hurts. We need to take out their command ship, their flagship. Without it, their fleet will be in disarray." Admiral Lai agreed. "We'll need to coordinate our attacks carefully," he said. "We'll need to use every ship and satellite we have left to create a diversion and draw their fire away from the Railgun." And so, the plan was set in motion. Earth's remaining defenses were mobilized, ready to launch a final, desperate attack against the Zortoks' fleet. And in the heart of the planet, the Railgun was primed and ready, its massive coils thrumming with barely contained power. As the Zortoks' fleet entered Earth's orbit, Admiral Lai gave the order to attack. Earth's ships and satellites swarmed forward, firing everything they had at the alien invaders. The sky lit up with the fire of 1,000 suns as the two fleets clashed in a titanic battle. But even as Earth's forces fought bravely, they were outmatched. The Zortoks' ships shrugged off their attacks, their shields absorbing the worst of the damage. And they responded with a devastating barrage of their own, ripping through Earth's defenses like tissue paper. As the battle raged, Dr. Vasquez and her team watched from the control room of the Railgun facility. They knew that everything depended on the success of their weapon, and they waited with bated breath for the right moment to strike. Finally, As the Zortox flagship moved into position above the planet, Admiral Lai gave the order. The railgun fired, a single shot that streaked through the atmosphere like a bolt of lightning. The projectile struck the Zortox flagship with the force of 1,000 suns, piercing its shields and burrowing deep into its hull. For a moment, the ship seemed to hang in the sky, a gaping wound in its side. And then it exploded, a massive fireball that lit up the night sky. The effect on the Zortox fleet was immediate. Without their flagship, the alien ships were thrown into disarray, their coordination and communication disrupted. And Earth's forces pressed their advantage, swarming forward to engage the enemy in close quarters. The battle raged for hours as the two fleets clashed in a desperate struggle for survival. But in the end, Earth emerged victorious. The Zortox fleet was decimated, their ships reduced to burning hulks that drifted lifelessly through space. And on the planet below, humanity celebrated. They had done the impossible, defeating an alien invasion force that had seemed unbeatable. They had shown the galaxy the strength and resilience of the human spirit, and they had secured their place among the stars. But even as they celebrated, they knew that the war was not over. The Zortox would return, with reinforcements and a thirst for vengeance. And humanity would need to be ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. For now, though, they could savor their victory, and they could honor the sacrifices of those who had given their lives to defend their planet and their way of life. The Galactic Reckoning had been a defining moment in human history, a moment that would be remembered for generations to come. And as Dr. Vasquez and Admiral Lai looked out over the shattered remains of the Zortox fleet, they knew that they had been a part of something greater than themselves. They had been a part of the human story, a story of courage and determination in the face of impossible odds. And they knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, humanity would face them together, united in their common purpose and their shared destiny among the stars. Trials and tribulations. In the aftermath of the battle, Earth lay in ruins. The Zortox invasion had left a trail of destruction across the planet, with entire cities reduced to rubble and millions of lives lost. The human forces had emerged victorious, but at a terrible cost. As the survivors began to pick up the pieces, Dr. Lena Vasquez and her team worked tirelessly to repair and rearm the railgun. They knew that the Zortox would not take their defeat lying down, and that they would return with reinforcements and a renewed determination to conquer Earth. But even as they worked, tensions began to rise among the human leaders. Some argued that the railgun was too dangerous, too unpredictable to be relied upon as Earth's sole defense. They called for a return to conventional weapons and tactics, believing that humanity could not hope to match the Zortox in terms of technology and firepower. Others, led by Admiral Zhang Lai, insisted that the railgun was Earth's only hope. They argued that conventional weapons had proven useless against the Zortox, and that only by embracing new and untested technologies could humanity hope to survive. As the debate raged, Dr. Vasquez and her team faced setback after setback in their efforts to repair the railgun. The weapon had been pushed to its limits in the battle against the Zortox, and the damage it had sustained was extensive. The power systems were fried, the targeting computers were glitching, and the electromagnetic coils were warped and distorted. It seemed that every time they fixed one problem, another would emerge to take its place. But Dr. Vasquez refused to give up. She worked around the clock, pushing herself and her team to their limits. She knew that the fate of humanity rested on their shoulders, and that failure was not an option. As the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, the human survivors began to lose hope. The Zortox had not returned, but the fear of their eventual attack hung over the planet like a dark cloud. Food and supplies were running low, and the makeshift shelters that had been erected in the aftermath of the invasion were beginning to crumble. The once proud cities of Earth lay in ruins, and the few remaining pockets of civilization were struggling to hold on. But even in the darkest of times, there were those who refused to give up hope. Admiral Lai and his forces continued to patrol the skies, watching for any sign of the Zortox's return. And Dr. Vasquez and her team worked tirelessly to repair and improve the railgun, knowing that it was Earth's only defense against the alien threat. Finally, after months of grueling work and countless setbacks, the railgun was ready. Dr. Vasquez and her team had not only repaired the damage from the previous battle, but had made significant improvements to the weapon's power and accuracy. The new and improved railgun was a marvel of human ingenuity and determination. It was sleeker, more powerful, and more precise than ever before, and it was Earth's last, best hope against the Zortox. But even as they celebrated their achievement, the human survivors knew that the real test was yet to come. The Zortox would return, and when they did, the railgun would need to be ready. Admiral Lai and his forces prepared for the inevitable attack, positioning themselves in key locations around the planet. They knew that they would be the first line of defense against the Zortox, and that they would need to hold the line long enough for the railgun to do its work. As the days turned into weeks, the tension on Earth reached a breaking point. The survivors huddled in their makeshift shelters, waiting for the sound of alien ships in the sky. And Dr. Vasquez and her team stood ready at the controls of the railgun, their fingers poised over the firing button. And then it happened. A massive Zortox fleet appeared in Earth's orbit, dwarfing the previous invasion force in size and power. The alien ships hung in the sky like a swarm of angry hornets, their weapons primed and ready to strike. Admiral Lai gave the order to engage, and Earth's remaining ships and defenses sprang into action. They fought bravely, but they were hopelessly outmatched. The Zortox ships tore through their defenses like tissue paper, their weapons cutting huge swaths of destruction across the planet. As the battle raged, Dr. Vasquez and her team watched in horror from the railgun's control room. They knew that they were Earth's last hope, and that if they failed, all would be lost. Finally, as the Zortox ships moved into position above the railgun's location, Dr. Vasquez gave the order to fire. The massive weapon hummed to life, its electromagnetic coils glowing with barely contained power. But as the railgun prepared to launch its projectile, disaster struck. A massive explosion rocked the facility, throwing Dr. Vasquez and her team to the ground. Warning lights flashed and alarms blared as the railgun's power systems began to fail. Dr. Vasquez scrambled to her feet, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew that they had only moments before the railgun's systems failed completely, and that if they didn't act fast, all would be lost. With a final, desperate effort, she and her team managed to stabilize the railgun's power systems and lock onto the Zortox flagship. They had only one shot, and they knew that they had to make it count. Dr. Vasquez took a deep breath, her finger hovering over the firing button. She knew that the fate of humanity rested on her shoulders, and that if she failed, all would be lost. But she also knew that she was not alone. She had her team, and she had the courage and determination of the human spirit behind her. And with that knowledge, she pressed the button. The railgun fired, its projectile streaking through the sky like a bolt of lightning. It struck the Zortox flagship with the force of 1,000 suns, piercing its shields and burrowing deep into its hull. For a moment, the ship seemed to hang in the sky, a gaping wound in its side. And then it exploded, a massive fireball that lit up the night sky. The effect on the Zortox fleet was immediate. Without their flagship, the alien ships were thrown into disarray, their coordination and communication disrupted. And Earth's forces, battered and bloody but unbroken, pressed their advantage. The battle raged for hours as the two fleets clashed in a desperate struggle for survival. But in the end, Earth emerged victorious once again. The Zortox fleet was decimated, their ships reduced to burning hulks that drifted lifelessly through space. And on the planet below, the human survivors emerged from their shelters, blinking in the sunlight. They had survived the impossible, had faced the greatest threat in human history, and emerged victorious. But even as they celebrated, they knew that the war was not over. The Zortox would return, and Earth would need to be ready. The trials and tribulations of the past months had tested the human spirit like never before, but they had also forged a new strength and unity among the survivors. And as Dr. Vasquez and Admiral Lai looked out over the shattered remains of the Zortox fleet, they knew that Earth would never be the same. The scars of the invasion would linger for generations, but so too would the memory of the courage and sacrifice that had saved humanity from extinction. The Galactic Reckoning had been a defining moment in human history, a crucible that had forged a new future for the species. And as the survivors looked to the stars, they knew that they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, united in their determination to protect their home and their way of life, no matter the cost. Breakthrough. In the weeks following the Zortox invasion, Dr. Lena Vasquez and her team worked tirelessly to repair and improve the Railgun. Despite their victory, they knew that the Zortox would return, and they needed to be ready. But as they delved deeper into the weapons systems, they began to realize that they were approaching the limits of their current technology. The Railgun was already pushing the boundaries of what was possible, and any further improvements would require a fundamental breakthrough in their understanding of the universe. Dr. Vasquez refused to give up. She pored over the data from the previous battles, looking for any clues or insights that could help them unlock the secrets of the Railgun's power. She consulted with experts from around the world, seeking out new ideas and approaches. And then, one day, she had a revelation. The key to unlocking the Railgun's full potential lay not in its physical components, but in the fundamental nature of the universe itself. Dr. Vasquez had long been fascinated by the concept of dark matter, the mysterious substance that made up a large portion of the universe, but remained largely unexplained by modern science. She began to wonder if there was a way to harness the power of dark matter, to use it as a source of energy for the Railgun. She knew that it was a long shot, but she also knew that they had no other choice. The Zortox would return, and Earth needed every advantage it could get. Dr. Vasquez assembled a team of the brightest minds from around the world, experts in fields ranging from particle physics to cosmology. Together, they began to explore the possibilities of dark matter, to push the boundaries of what was known and what was possible. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, as the team worked tirelessly to unravel the secrets of the universe. They conducted experiments, ran simulations, and pored over data, searching for any clues that could help them harness the power of dark matter. And then, finally, they had a breakthrough. They discovered a way to manipulate dark matter, to use it as a source of energy for the Railgun. It was a risky and untested technology, but it was also their best hope for defeating the Zortox. Dr. Vasquez and her team worked around the clock to integrate the new technology into the Railgun systems. They knew that they were racing against time, that the Zortox could return at any moment. As they worked, Admiral Zhang Lai and his forces prepared for the inevitable attack. They knew that the Zortox would not underestimate them again, that they would come with even greater numbers and firepower than before. And so, they planned and strategized, looking for any weakness or vulnerability in the Zortox's defenses. They knew that they would need to be smarter, faster, and more cunning than ever before if they hoped to emerge victorious. Finally, after months of grueling work and countless setbacks, the new and improved Railgun was ready. Dr. Vasquez and her team had not only repaired the damage from the previous battles, but had also unlocked a new level of power and precision that they had never thought possible. The dark matter technology had exceeded their wildest expectations, allowing them to channel unimaginable amounts of energy into the Railgun's projectiles. The weapon was now capable of delivering strikes with pinpoint accuracy and devastating force, far beyond anything that the Zortox had ever encountered. As the final preparations were made, Dr. Vasquez and Admiral Lai met to discuss their strategy. They knew that they would need to lure the Zortox into a trap, to draw them into a position where the Railgun could deliver a decisive blow. And so, they set their plan into motion. Earth's remaining ships and defenses were positioned in key locations around the planet, ready to spring the trap when the Zortox arrived. They didn't have to wait long. A massive Zortox fleet appeared in Earth's orbit, even larger and more powerful than the one that had come before. The alien ships hung in the sky like a swarm of angry hornets, their weapons primed and ready to strike. Admiral Lei gave the order to engage, and Earth's forces sprang into action. They fought bravely, drawing the Zortox ships into position and holding them there long enough for the Railgun to do its work. And then, at the crucial moment, Dr. Vasquez gave the order to fire. The Railgun hummed to life, its dark matter technology channeling unimaginable amounts of energy into the projectile. The shot was unlike anything that had ever been seen before. It streaked through the sky like a bolt of pure energy, piercing the Zortox shields as if they were made of tissue paper. The projectile struck the heart of the Zortox fleet, detonating with a force that shook the very foundations of the planet. The effect was immediate and devastating. The Zortox ships were torn apart, their hulls rupturing and their systems failing as the shockwave of the blast tore through their ranks. The once mighty fleet was reduced to a cloud of debris and shattered metal, drifting lifelessly through the void of space. On the surface of Earth, the survivors emerged from their shelters, blinking in the sunlight. They had witnessed the impossible, had seen the power of human ingenuity and determination in action. And as they looked to the sky, they saw something that they had never thought possible. The Zortox fleet was gone, utterly destroyed by the power of the Railgun. Earth was safe, at least for now. But even as they celebrated their victory, Dr. Vasquez and Admiral Lee knew that the war was not over. The Zortox would return, and Earth would need to be ready. They had unlocked a new level of power and technology, but they also knew that the universe held many more secrets and challenges that they had yet to face. And so, as the survivors looked to the stars, they knew that they were embarking on a new chapter in human history. They had faced the greatest threat that their species had ever known, and they had emerged victorious. But they also knew that the journey was far from over, that there were many more battles and challenges yet to come. But they were ready. They had the courage, the determination, and the ingenuity of the human spirit on their side. And with that, they knew that they could face anything that the universe had to throw at them. The Galactic Reckoning had been a turning point in human history, a moment when the species had faced its greatest challenge and emerged stronger and more united than ever before. And as they looked to the future, they knew that they were ready to take their place among the stars, to explore the vast and wondrous universe that lay beyond their own small corner of the cosmos. The Reckoning. In the aftermath of the Zortox fleet's devastating defeat, an eerie calm settled over Earth. The survivors emerged from their shelters, blinking in the sunlight and marveling at the strange new world that lay before them. The once bustling cities lay in ruins, their towering skyscrapers reduced to piles of rubble and twisted metal. The lush green forests and rolling hills were scarred and blackened, the earth itself seeming to bear the wounds of the war that had been fought upon its surface. But even amidst the destruction, there was hope. The human spirit, battered and bruised but unbroken, began to stir once more. The survivors came together, working tirelessly to rebuild their shattered world and to forge a new future for themselves and for the generations to come. At the heart of this effort were Dr. Lena Vasquez and Admiral John Lai, the two individuals who had played such a crucial role in Earth's victory over the Zortox. They worked tirelessly to coordinate the rebuilding efforts, to allocate resources and manpower where they were needed most. But even as they worked to rebuild, they knew that the threat of the Zortox was far from over. The alien invaders had been defeated, but they would not stay defeated for long. Even now, on some distant world, they were likely regrouping, licking their wounds, and plotting their revenge. And so, Dr. Vasquez and Admiral Lai turned their attention to the stars once more. They knew that Earth could not stand alone against the might of the Zortox Empire, that they would need allies if they hoped to survive the storm that was to come. They reached out to the other intelligent species that they had discovered in the course of their battles with the Zortox, species that had also suffered at the hands of the alien invaders. They forged alliances and partnerships, working together to build a united front against the common threat. And at the heart of this effort was the Railgun, the weapon that had proven so decisive in the battle against the Zortox. Dr. Vasquez and her team worked tirelessly to refine and improve the technology, to make it even more powerful and precise than ever before. They shared their knowledge and expertise with their new allies, working together to build a network of railgun emplacements across the galaxy. They knew that they would need every advantage they could get if they hoped to stand against the Zortox when they returned. And return they did. A year to the day after their devastating defeat, the Zortox fleet appeared once more in Earth's skies. But this time, they were not alone. They had brought with them the full might of their empire, a vast armada of ships and weapons that seemed to stretch across the very heavens themselves. The people of Earth watched in horror as the Zortox ships took up position above their world, their weapons primed and ready to strike. They knew that this was the moment of truth, the final battle that would determine the fate of their species and of all the intelligent life in the galaxy. But they were ready. The Railgun network that Dr. Vasquez and her team had built sprang into action, a web of interlocking fields of fire that covered the entire planet. The dark, matter-infused projectiles slammed into the Zortox ships with unimaginable force, piercing their shields and tearing through their hulls like they were made of tissue paper. The Zortox fought back with all the might and fury of a cornered beast, their weapons laying waste to entire continents and reducing cities to ash and rubble. But the people of Earth would not be cowed. They fought back with all the courage and determination that had carried them through the darkest of times, all the ingenuity and resourcefulness that had allowed them to achieve the impossible time and time again. And in the end, it was enough. The Zortox fleet was shattered, their ships reduced to drifting hulks of metal and their armies scattered to the winds. The people of Earth had won the day, had secured their place in the galaxy, and ensured the survival of their species. But the cost had been high. Billions had died in the war. Entire cities and nations had been wiped from the face of the planet. The scars of the conflict would linger for generations, a reminder of the terrible price that had been paid for victory. And yet, even amidst the sorrow and the loss, there was hope. The human spirit, tempered in the flames of war and hardened by the trials and tribulations of the galactic reckoning, had emerged stronger and more resilient than ever before. The survivors looked to the stars once more, to the vast and infinite expanse of the universe that lay before them. They knew that there would be challenges and dangers aplenty in the years to come, that the Zortox were not the only threat that lurked in the darkness between the stars. But they also knew that they were ready, that they had the strength and the courage to face whatever the future might hold. They had each other, and they had the unbreakable bonds of unity and purpose that had been forged in the crucible of war. And so, as the dust settled and the wounds began to heal, the people of Earth set out once more into the unknown. They built mighty ships and powerful weapons. They explored strange new worlds and forged alliances with alien species that they had once feared and mistrusted. They became a force to be reckoned with in the galaxy, a shining beacon of hope and resilience in a universe that often seemed cold and unforgiving. And at the heart of it all, guiding them through the darkness and the light, were the heroes who had saved them all. Dr. Lena Vasquez, Admiral Zhang Lai, and all the brave men and women who had fought and died to secure humanity's place among the stars. The Galactic Reckoning had been a turning point in human history, a moment of truth that had tested the very limits of the human spirit. But in the end, humanity had emerged victorious, had proven itself worthy of the great and terrible responsibility that came with being a part of the galactic community. And as the people of Earth looked to the future, they knew that they were ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. They would face them together, united in purpose and resolute in their determination to build a better world for themselves and for all the generations yet to come. The end.